Welcome back to the second episode of Cults, Crimes, and Spirits podcast. I'm Nina,
And I'm Andrea.
and we're here. We're still doing the damn thing.
Hell yeah, we're doing the damn thing. Episode 2, baby.
But what?
What? Let's do it. But, before we start the second episode, it's a little tradition now, I guess, that we kind of talk to each other about how our weekends were and if anything cool happened.
Well, Andrea had a cool weekend because,
Kind of, yeah,
yeah, a painful weekend, maybe.
but it's worth it. The pain is temporary.
Yeah. So, what exactly is your tattoo?
I'm gonna butcher the name of the mask, but I think it's spelled like Hannya. It's like a Japanese mask, but I got it in the traditional form with like cherry blossoms around it and got it in the perfect place, the inner arm to finish up my left arm. So now I pretty much am done with my left arm, but it is spicy and swollen.
Yes, we'll definitely post a picture on our page so you guys can see because it's really well done. Like, who is your tattoo artist?
It's not what you expected, right?
No,
Oh
it's
yeah,
not.
shout out to Portal Tattoo. Yeah, Portal Tattoo in Georgia. I see a couple different artists, but Vinny Tattoos, that's his Instagram handle. He did that one and a couple others that I have as well.
Nice. It's
He's
beautiful. Yeah.
dope.
When I when
Go
Andrea
follow him.
when Andrea first showed me what she was getting done, I was like, "You want that?" Because it kind of looks a little creepy, but then after like I saw it finished, I was like, "Oh, it's actually really nice. I like it."
Yeah, the picture I sent him was actually a tattoo that he did on someone, and I wanted the mask, but when I got there, I was like, it's February, you know what? Can we make it girly and like lovey-dovey and like Valentine's-y? And he was like, okay, pinks, purples, teals, I got it. So
It
he
turned
killed
out
it.
it turned out
Yeah.
really good.
But yeah, I had a weird experience. So on my way to my tattoo appointment, because I always like to be on time, but things happen and I'm always like 5 minutes late. But I couldn't help it. A funeral, is it a progression? Possession?
Procession, I think. Funeral
Yeah,
procession.
possession. Yeah, it went by, so we all had to stop. And I respect that. Like it made me like think about when we were on the other side of that.
Oh yeah.
But that happened on the way there. And today I'm using something called Second Skin or Saniderm for the area that it's in to heal it. And I had to go back to the shop today for him to take the one that I had on for 24 hours off and clean it and put a new one on. And on my way there, the exit I needed to get off of, there was a car on fire. And so they shut down a lane. They had two fire trucks drive by, and
Oh
I had
my
to
goodness.
sit on the highway for like 25 minutes just waiting.
25 minutes.
So yeah, it was a long time. I listened to at least like 10 songs. But it that I've had a pretty chill weekend other than that.
Yeah, me too. Except for last night, I came over to my mom's. We had like a game night. We played, I don't even know, is it called Cards Against Humanity or Crimes Against
Yes.
Humanity? Cards?
Cards.
Okay, cards.
Cards.
I keep calling it Crimes Against Humanity.
You
But
just live, eat, and sleep cults, crimes, and
yeah.
spirits. That's it.
Yep. And so we played that and it was fun as hell. I love that game. And I was drinking a little, you know, and I left
Ha
my
ha ha ha. The spirits part.
yeah, the spirits. I'm getting the crime and the spirits. So I ended up leaving my phone at my mom's house, and I didn't realize it because I was drunk until I got home. And my mom lives like 30 minutes from me, and I was like, I was coming over today to record the podcast here, and I was like, I'm not driving all the way back to my mom's house to get my phone until tomorrow. So I woke up this
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah. And something really important happened to our Instagram, and I could not get a hold of you. I had to call your mom, and she had to tell me that she had your phone.
I told her to text you last night. Did she not text you?
No, she did. She did. And I woke up at like 1 in the morning and saw it and then went back to sleep. And then this morning I saw that thing about our Instagram and I was like, oh no. So I sent a picture to your mom and then to your phone. And I was like, she'll get one or both of them. And like, I'll tell her to like let Nina know if she calls her.
Yeah, so like apparently our Instagram account got locked temporarily or blocked. I don't know. But Andrea figured out how to fix it because I didn't have my phone, so I was kind of useless.
Temporarily. Hopefully,
Temporarily.
if you guys see our Instagram just disappear and we add you from a like slightly different one, I don't know what we've done to make them mad, but
Yeah, it's she got it back working now, so it's up and working now. But who the
yes,
heck knows
currently.
when it'll go down again? Because we don't even know what we did. Like we were like, what the heck?
Yeah. I don't know, but fingers
But
crossed.
yeah, but like I left my phone and like of course all this happens when I don't have my phone and I woke up this morning I felt so lost. I was like how like it's sad because like when I was a teenager like I got a phone when I was 14, but like before that like phones weren't even that big of a thing and like now it's like you don't have your phone it's like you can't function.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't like that feeling. I
Yeah.
don't like it. But anyways, are you ready to get into episode 2, the Martinsville 7?
Yeah.
I feel like this falls in the crime category.
Oh, for sure. Not only was it a crime in and of itself, you know, what happened to this young woman, which we'll get into, but it was a crime. It's like a double whammy, double crime. I
Like
mean,
it's what they call a lose-lose situation on both
yes.
ends.
Yeah, for sure. It's just really messed up, which you'll find out why as we get into it. January 8th, 1949 is when this nightmare began for 7 young men in Martinsville, Virginia. This case is just one example of how the US justice system failed miserably.
You know what I think is crazy? That
What?
it happened in Virginia. I don't know where Martinsville is. You probably do because you still live there.
Yeah,
I
I do.
we were both born and I was slightly raised there, but
So you were like 5.
yeah. So I think that's kind of wild that our second episode takes place in your like state of living.
My state of living.
How would you word that?
It's
Where
also
you live,
your home state. Like you were
your
born
home
here.
state, our home state.
Yes, our
It's
home state.
crazy that it yes. Okay.
Yes. So
Anyways.
so from where we're at, like so we're from Abingdon, Virginia. If anybody's ever heard of Abingdon, Virginia, Martinsville's about it's past Roanoke. I've never been there, but I used to live in Blacksburg for a time and I worked in Roanoke. And Martinsville's like somewhere past that, but I don't know. It's closer to that area. And Roanoke's about 2 hours from us. So it'd probably take 2 or 3 hours to get to Martinsville from where we're at right now. It's not very far at all.
No, that's
Well,
crazy.
from where I'm at right now. Andrea's in Georgia. So
Yeah, that's a lot farther for
yeah.
me. I don't know what that voice was, by the way. It like sounded like a little demon child just came out. I don't know. That was weird.
All right. So January 8th, 1949. It was late afternoon. Ruby Stroud Floyd, a 32-year-old white woman, ventured into a black neighborhood in Martinsville, Virginia, to collect money for clothing that she had recently sold. And she had been to that same neighborhood before to hand out like Jehovah Witness materials or something. Apparently, I don't know if it was just like a bad neighborhood. I don't know because like apparently Ruby was warned by some of the residents of that neighborhood not to stay too long and to basically get the heck out of there before it got dark.
Dang, if people that live there are telling you that, you should listen.
I know, right? So I mean, it's just weird. So I'm like, was it a bad area like already?
Maybe some sketchy stuff happened in that area. So,
Sketchy stuff happens after dark. So Ruby supposedly passed 4 men at the railroad tracks while on her way into this neighborhood and was allegedly assaulted by some of those men later that afternoon, which we'll get into. So
okay.
I'm probably going to say like supposedly and allegedly a lot because I wasn't there and I can't speak for what actually happened. And I'm not denying the claim that Ruby was assaulted because she was definitely assaulted. But it's just, it gets a little hairy on what actually happened.
Yeah, because no one knows.
Yeah, it's just because I feel like they didn't really investigate too much.
Yeah, they didn't give a fuck, and
Yeah,
that's the saddest part, but we'll get into that.
yeah. So at around 7:30 p.m., Ruby shows up at this lady named Mary Wade's house for shelter. So the Wades were an African American family that lived in the same neighborhood. And I found an article by the Richmond Times Dispatch where Mary's daughter, Annie, recalled what happened that night. So, Annie, who was around 11 at the time, said she remembered seeing Ruby earlier that day being escorted by a young boy named Charlie Martin, who was about her age as well, like 11, 12. Charlie was showing Ruby how to get to that house that she was trying to get to collect the money for the stuff that she sold. So after Annie saw Charlie and Ruby, Annie went back into her house and told her dad that Charlie was out there walking this white lady. And her dad looked outside and he said that he recognized the lady and he believed that one of the men that were later arrested, I'm not entirely sure which one, but one of the 7 men was actually trying to arrange a date with her. So later that same day, Annie recalled that she also heard a woman crying and noise on the front porch of her family's home. The door opened and Ruby fell through onto their living room floor. And she was saying, I've been raped. I've been raped.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's intense. Like you're just chilling. I think she said like her sister and her were playing some games or something, and her parents were eating in the kitchen. And then this
Shock.
this lady just falls into your house. Like that would be, yeah, that would be shocking.
Yeah, that would be wild. Side story. We once had a lady, I don't think she spoke English. I think she was visiting from a different country and she got confused with like what house she was staying in and she walked into our house.
Oh my
And we
goodness,
had to like
seriously?
tell
I did
her,
not know
yes.
this.
And we had to tell her like she was walking through like our foyer into like our kitchen and I looked over from the balcony of the upstairs and I was like, someone's in our house. And like no one believed me until they got up and we had to tell her like you're in the wrong house. You need to get out of our house. It
When
was
was
wild.
this? I don't remember this story.
I think I was a teenager. So sometime in between like 12 and 16 or 17.
Oh, good gosh. Yeah, you probably did tell me, but it's been so long I just forgot.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah,
that's like
yeah.
half my life ago, half
Yeah,
our life
same. But
ago.
I will never forget that because I was like, who is this person walking through our house? Like, what is
What the
happening?
heck?
Anyways, sorry.
But yeah,
But
it's
yeah.
freaky. Someone just pops into your house like that, frantic because she had, she was,
Imagine yelling what she yelled too.
yeah,
Like that would freak me out even more.
for sure. And Annie said her parents ran in from the kitchen and her mother covered the woman with a bed sheet. And her father grabbed his handgun because he was like, what the heck's going on? Like, um, so her parents then carried the woman to their car because they didn't have a phone to call for help, which again is so crazy because it's like, I didn't have my phone today. And I can't imagine like not having your cell phone. But then back then, not everybody had a telephone, just a regular telephone. So
Yeah, that's wild. Like not even having a phone in general, like
yeah,
to communicate with people is crazy.
different times, man. So they ended up driving, they put Ruby in their car and they drove her to the mayor's house in town. And he had a phone and they called the police from his house. So Annie said that Ruby never said to them who raped her. She just said, I've been raped and was pleading for help. And Annie's parents later testified that Ruby was wearing a sweater, shirt, and a slip, and there was dirt on her clothes, and she was all scratched up. Annie also said that Ruby was like, she remembered Ruby being like bruised as well. After the police were called, 6 of the 7 men were in custody within just a few hours.
How?
Yeah. I mean, they must have went on like crazy manhunt to round up that many people that quickly.
Yeah.
2 of the men were arrested near the Wade's home, Frank Hairston Jr. and Booker Milner. And based on Hairston and Milner's confessions, 4 more were then arrested that same evening. So those 2 were arrested, and I guess they kind of told the police like who else was involved. Floyd identified, like she said, so I saw these other accounts that like 13, she said 13 men raped her or something, but then it ended up being like 7. So I don't know, it's just weird. But I mean, I'm sure if you're like being raped, you don't know what the heck's going on. It's probably dark out. So like she probably thought, I mean, maybe it was 13. I don't know.
Probably, yeah. She probably didn't even know the correct number. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Because
traumatizing.
yeah, because she also said Floyd She identified Francis DeSales Grayson and Joe Henry Hampton as her rapists. Like she identified them for sure, but she wasn't able to like positively identify any of the others. So maybe they had her like where she couldn't really see what was going on, and she saw that there was just tons of men around her and like exaggerated the number to like 13. I don't know. And then, ended up being seven people around. And she, maybe they had her, like where she couldn't see anything and she didn't know who was raping her, who did what, who didn't. 2 days later, the last man to be arrested, Joe Henry Hampton, Annie said, knocked on their back door. And she said her mom went to the door and told him, "You better turn yourself in." And he said, "Well, would you fix me something to eat? I haven't eaten in 2 days." And she said her mom fixed him something to eat.
Oh, that's a good lady. But I wonder why he hadn't eaten in 2 days. Was he like hiding out from the police and
Oh,
stuff, you
for
think?
sure. That's what I'm thinking. Like he was hiding from the police because I mean, he probably heard that the rest of them got rounded up, and he knew he was gonna. So, like, that makes me think, like, he was definitely involved because he knew, like, he was going to be implemented in this. So he was hiding out. I mean, I assume he was hiding out because if he wasn't hiding, they probably would have found him like they found the rest of them. So the first six men, so we're going to get into the confessions. So the first six men that were arrested all signed confessions to the rape after being held overnight by police. All of them admitted to being present during the rape, but not all of the men admitted to participating in the rape. So they did like admit that this happened, but some of them were like, I was just a bystander. So they didn't actually participate. And like I said, she couldn't really identify everybody either. So, like, I'm thinking they had her where she couldn't really even see what was going on. So she couldn't, like, she knew there was a lot of men there, but she didn't know who was doing what.
Yeah.
However, even just being present was a crime, which I get because they could have tried to stop it. And again, I wasn't there. Maybe they did try to stop it.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much how it is with most things. If you're around someone who just murdered someone, you're an accomplice to the murder. So,
Exactly. So I mean, even though like maybe they didn't actually rape her, they were still there.
yes, it's very messed up, but we'll keep going into that because I don't know if I believe these confessions, but
Yeah. So the men's confessions were not obtained properly. Surprise, surprise. According to
yeah.
information, yeah, according to information that I found on martinsville7.org, independent investigations by responsible citizens showed that confessions had been extorted from the men after violent maltreatment by local officials.
Yeah, so of course if like a local official is beating the shit out of you, you're gonna agree to whatever to get him to stop.
Yeah, and who knows what they threatened them with? I mean, they could have threatened their families, like, you have to confess to this. So
Yeah, we'll
also,
never know what happened.
yeah, so also according to news reports, parents of the young man were also advised by the original court appointed attorneys not to say anything about how the confessions were obtained. So they knew the confessions were obtained in a sketchy, messed up manner.
That's even more fucked up to
Yeah,
me.
yeah. Apparently, the men were also told if they didn't sign the confessions, they would face mob violence, and they didn't have any attorneys present. Some of the men couldn't even read, so they had no idea what they were signing or admitting to.
Yeah, wow, wow, wow. And you know that these police officers knew this. They knew they couldn't
Oh,
read.
yeah.
They knew that they could threaten them with mob violence because they could start that. They
Oh,
knew that
yeah.
they couldn't get an attorney. Like, this is all,
All kinds of messed up.
yeah.
And it gets worse. So, six trials were held for the seven men because two of the men agreed to be tried together. No trial lasted more than a day, and all the jurors were white, even though at the time African Americans were allowed to like serve as jurors in Martinsville. But did they have any African American jurors? Nope.
Go figure.
So all that was problem number one. Like the confessions, all of that, not having the lawyers present.
Problem number two, how are the men supposed to get a fair trial when all the jurors were white?
Exactly. This all white jury convicted these seven men, all of them, to death.
That's so harsh. You don't have 100% physical, you have no proof that all of these men did this. So you're just going to murder men that you think did this because a lady spoke and said, I can identify two. I don't know about the rest.
Yeah, like, I mean, definitely not denying that she was raped or and assaulted, but her recollection of things were a little fuzzy because not being able to identify people, she identified two positively. I mean, back then there wasn't DNA evidence, so it's not like they could have done anything with that. But the fact that she couldn't identify anyone else, and some of the guys actually admitted to the crime and some of them admitted to being there but not participating, it's just not, they're
But
not
my
t-
thing is yeah, they admitted, but was it 100% true? Because if someone's beating you up or threatening
right.
you, you're
You're
not
gonna
gonna be like, you're not gonna stand your ground that long.
Yeah, you're just gonna say like what
What they
they
want you to say.
yeah, so that they will stop beating you to death.
And the messed up part is that still happens to this day.
It does,
Maybe not as bad or as much, but it's
but it
still there's it still happens.
it still happens.
But what else was a problem? Were there no wasn't there multiple problems with this whole
Yes.
trial?
Oh yeah. So problem number 3, no white person has ever been executed in the state of Virginia for the crime of rape. According to another article I found online from the Death Penalty Information Center, from 1900 until the US Supreme Court prohibited the death penalty in 1977 for crimes in which no one was killed, Virginia executed 73 Black men and boys on charges of rape, attempted rape, or robbery.
That's so fucked.
Yeah, so basically, white men committed these same crimes, but they weren't being executed for it.
That's almost one black man or boy a year.
Hmm. And I
That's
mean, and
awful.
none of these, I'm not trying to discount any of these because rape obviously is horrible,
It is.
and robbery, but I feel like no one died. It's not like they murdered someone. And I mean, if they committed rape, they should be in jail for a really long time. Um, I don't approve
But
of that,
but not
but
executed. They
not
shouldn't be
executed.
killed. You
No,
should be killed if you're a serial killer, if you murdered someone else, if you actually did it, if they had a fair trial.
yeah, and the fact that they didn't, I feel like at the most these guys should have just got like some serious jail time and then I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
when
I
you
agree with that.
when you execute them, like if they were in jail, at least their family could come visit them, like you're taking them away completely when you murder them.
Yeah, but that's still going on till this day too. People are
Hmm.
still being wrongly accused of crimes and serving 15 to 30 years for crimes that they later find out they're not guilty of, and then they get out and they've just wasted 30 years in prison or 15 or
Oh yeah,
it's still going on till this day.
I feel like there's so many people out there that are just the justice system is failing them, and I get back then, I mean, it still shouldn't have happened, but like now we have DNA evidence, we have surveillance video, we have all this stuff that they didn't have in
And it's
1949,
still happening.
and it's still happening. So also, according to the Virginia governor's office, prior to abolishing the death penalty in Virginia, so like in 2021, Virginia like did away with the death penalty altogether. In 1977, they prohibited the death penalty for crimes in which no one was killed. So now we don't have the death penalty at all, but the Commonwealth, prior to abolishing the death penalty, the Commonwealth of Virginia had executed almost 1,400 people since 1608. And all 45 of the prisoners who were executed for rape from 1908 to 1951 were all Black men, all of them Black, no white men.
Wow.
But white men were committing the same crimes during that time.
Yeah, just not getting executed.
Right. So the lawyers for these men were unsuccessful in their attempts to use statistics to challenge the racial disparities in their sentences of death. This was also the first case where this type of tactic was used. So, like, basically, in the trials, the lawyers tried to show, like, white men aren't being executed for this. Why are you executing the black men for the same crime that white men are like committing as well, but not getting executed for. So like there was just disparities.
And they knew it, but
Yeah,
it didn't obviously get them very far, but they
yeah.
tried.
So Virginia governor at the time, John S. Battle, refused to commute the men's sentences, saying he was horrified by the rapes. And I'm pretty sure, like, we have a local high school, like, really close. I didn't go there, but it's really close by called John Battle High School. And I think it's named after this guy. Like, I never knew
Yeah,
who John Battle was before.
I don't live in Virginia anymore, and I haven't lived there since I was 5. But when I read his name, I automatically was like, that sounds like something in Virginia that I've heard.
Yeah,
So
like,
it has to be.
yeah, I never knew. And it makes sense because he was a governor, but like, I didn't go to that school. So, like, I didn't, you know,
Like, wow,
I
name
didn't
a
know who
high
this guy
school
was.
after this guy.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I get him being horrified by the rapes because rape is a horrible crime, but these guys didn't
Was
deserve
he
to
what
die.
was he horrified in the same manner when the white men were raping any women, either women of color or not? Was
Right.
he horrified then? Probably not.
Right. Probably not.
Anyways, I'm
So
getting heated.
So, according to Martinsville7.org, the Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals also rejected the appeals on behalf of the Martinsville Seven, and the U.S. Supreme Court refused to hear the case and rejected appeals to the court without review. So, basically, all of their appeals were like rejected, denied. The U.S. Supreme Court even refused to hear the case. And to me, that just doesn't sound like justice. Like
No, that's injustice
a
for
case that,
7 men, 7
yeah,
black men. That's very injustice
exactly.
for
A
all of
case
them.
that got international attention, they just refused to hear it. I mean, this was like international. Like everybody knew like what was going on. People were rallying. They were trying to raise money for their defense. They had a media campaign going on to try to like get these men a fair trial. Like not necessarily saying they were innocent, but just get them a fair trial because they didn't deserve death because this wasn't happening to any white person.
Yeah. That's huge. That's huge to have people like rallying and raising money and protesting and I don't know. That's crazy. Everyone in the world knew about what was happening.
Ultimately, on February 2nd, 1951, 4 men were executed, and February 5th, the remaining 3 were executed in Richmond, Virginia. And these guys, they were executed via the electric chair.
Oh gosh, I think I went to some sort of museum. Maybe it
Mhm.
was like Ripley's or something like that. But I think I saw like a chair and it was pretty gnarly.
Yeah, I saw there was a chair at the Crime Museum, the Alcatraz East, I think that's what's called, Alcatraz East Crime Museum in Pigeon Forge area in Tennessee. They had an electric chair, and I don't remember where the chair was from. Like, I almost wonder if it was from like Richmond, Virginia, and like I really want to look that up now.
You should. That'd be cool to find out.
But that's a horrible way to die, especially when like you were one of the men who were like, I didn't participate. You were probably innocent of the crime of rape. You were just there. You were a witness, and this is how you die. So all of this happened in 1949, and by 1951, early 1951 at that, they were all swiftly just executed, done away with. And hell, now people will sit on death row for 20 years before, anything's actually carried out.
Yeah, like they just wait and wait and wait and wait.
Which I
But
mean, I
they
guess
didn't take their time with
yeah.
the 7 of them. I thought it was kind of strange that they waited a couple days though in between executing.
hmm
Like they
I
didn't
don't know.
execute all of them within a day or two.
Yeah,
Like I don't understand.
I don't know what that was about. But I guess since all of their appeals were denied, they just went ahead and killed them, which is just so messed up.
No one deserves death. Well, it depends on the crime. I retract my statement.
Yeah, I was about to say there's a lot of people that deserve it. I
Yeah.
don't feel like
Yeah,
these
there
guys,
are,
I
but
don't feel
they
like,
didn't.
yeah, these guys didn't. I don't feel like, but I definitely don't feel like they were completely innocent either.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ruby moved away. Obviously, I wouldn't want to be in the same area. So she moved away after all of this, and she died in 1992 and is buried in North
Shout out.
Carolina.
Shout out to 1992,
Oh yeah,
baby.
Andrea was born in
Yes.
1992. There you go. I was like, what are you getting excited about? Shout out to what?
Yeah,
Talking about this
sorry.
lady being buried.
I know I am such a bad person because we like someone could be saying something horrible, and if something like resonates with me like that did, and I'm just like no filter, it just comes out. I'm like 1992, what's good?
Represent. All right. On August 31st, 2021, Virginia governor at the time, Ralph Northam, granted posthumous pardons to these seven men after meeting with uh, the descendants from these men and advocates for the Martinsville Seven.
Yeah, you know what's crazy about that is when I started doing research for this episode, I found a video from a news from a news station, and I was like, I'm gonna watch this because I want to watch as many different things on it to get different perspectives and information. And I call Nina up and I'm like, did you know this news station did this like thing on them pardoning like those seven guys like 70 something years later or something like that? And I don't know the news station, but it's like
WSLS
WLSS.
10.
And Nina's like, I work there, you
Yeah, I
dumbass.
worked there for 2 years. WSLS 10 News in Roanoke. I worked there for
And
2 years.
that
And
episode came out last year or 2 years ago. So like you would have been there.
yeah, I was. That's kind of how I knew about this case because, like, I didn't know about it prior to working at the news station. And then when this happened, I was there. So I was like,
You
yeah,
know what? You
I
know
can't believe she
what?
didn't remember like the name of where I worked for 2 years.
But you know what is crazy? This whole week I've been saying everything in the universe is connected. Like everything is connected in a weird way. And this to me is like you found out about this 2 years ago at the news station when you did the episode. It took us about a year and a half to get our asses in gear to start this podcast. Our second episode, I go to research, and like one of the second or third videos I watch is from your news station where you
Yeah,
found out about it.
yeah.
It's all full circle,
That
baby.
is. I might try to like find the video and like if I can figure out how to like link it in our show notes. I'm still kind of getting used to all of that, but I'll try to link it.
Yep, we're
Like,
learning. Thank you guys for being patient with us as
yes,
this is like a learning process for
yes,
us.
but we
But
are getting it together.
we're doing the damn
We're
thing.
doing the damn thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Where were we? I get sidetracked.
me
Let's
too.
go.
Gosh, we talk so much about stuff.
Yes, we
Stuff.
do.
Okay. So we're at Northam posthumously pardoning these seven men. Damn it. Can't talk.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So the pardons did not address whether the men were guilty or innocent, but Northam said the pardons are an acknowledgement that they did not receive due process and received a racially biased death sentence not similarly applied to white defendants, which is true. I mean, this is the whole thing. I mean, I'm not denying that they were guilty or innocent, but regardless, they did not deserve to be executed in the electric chair.
Yeah. This is a spicy episode. This is pretty spicy for a second episode.
Yeah. I mean, it's messed up because I don't want people to think that I'm,
Like we're against like the poor woman who got assaulted. She obviously did.
yeah.
We're not against that, and we're not saying that it's okay to do anything like that, but we're also not for these seven men being executed without having a fair like for any just being executed in general for the crime. They're not, you can't say if they're guilty or innocent 70 years later because you don't know, but at least you
Hmm.
can pardon them from they shouldn't have ever been executed. I agree with that. I think
Yeah.
that was a
I
good move.
appreciate Northam for like straight up acknowledging that they messed up.
But is there a hidden agenda behind that?
Possibly. So, speaking of Northam, in 2019, Governor Northam had a pretty huge scandal. There was a photo of him from his medical school yearbook with him in blackface. And people were calling for him to resign. It was pretty crazy. I remember because this happened like I think it was early part of 2019 and I started working at the news station in the later part of 2019 and like August 2019. So, and we were still talking about it. Like it was still kind of a thing. Like people were still bringing it
Wow.
up. Yeah, so it was pretty crazy. And the whole scandal like really took a toll on Northam and he almost did resign, but he decided to stay and stick it out. And he made a pledge that he would stay and devote the rest of his term to fighting racial inequality. And I feel like he did. And I don't feel like he was racist necessarily. People don't come for me.
I feel like that's a good, like he stuck with it and he was like, you know what, if I win, I'm gonna do what I can to fight it. And I really hope that he did
Yeah.
do everything he could in his power to do
Yeah.
multiple different
And
issues.
he
But
definitely did. And I feel like he wasn't racist. He's just what's the word? Kind of ignorant towards like how
a
like
lot of people are,
I don't think he realized how blackface affects people, like how bad
how
it
it's portrayed. Yeah.
yeah. And I think he was just kind of ignorant of that. And I think this scandal really made him aware
Yeah.
and it made him really, focus on trying to do better. And I really feel like he did. So, Virginia gave him a second chance and I feel like he didn't waste it. He ended up being a pretty decent governor. I mean, he pardoned the Martinsville Seven. Also, Andrea, he helped get marijuana legalized in Virginia.
Hey, that's my home state. Let's go, Northam. That's my governor.
Oh my goodness. He's not the governor now.
Who is it?
I don't even know.
I don't know. I don't care either.
You should come back to Virginia since it's legal.
I don't know. I've grown accustomed to the city.
Right. I feel you. I'm trying to get there.
I know. I'm waiting on you.
All right. So there is a Martinsville 7 historic marker if you ever visit Martinsville, Virginia. And the marker reads here in 1949, six all white, all male juries convicted seven Black men of rape of a white woman. All seven men were sentenced to death on appeal. The NAACP attorneys submitted the first petition to the U.S. Supreme Court, arguing that capital punishment had been disproportionately applied against African Americans in violation of the 14th Amendment. Despite international attention and petitions for clemency, the Commonwealth of Virginia executed the men in February of 1951, the most executions for a rape in U.S. history. In 1977, the Supreme Court ruled that execution for rape was cruel and unusual punishment. Governor Ralph Northam issued posthumous pardons to the Martinsville Seven on the 31st of August, 2021. So a marker obviously doesn't bring back the seven men, but I feel like at least there's acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you
That's the least you can do at this point.
yeah, because I feel like you can't move forward really until you acknowledge
The
the
mistakes.
mistakes. I'm actually half African American and half white. I'm a mixed child. So, I really wanted to do this because when I heard this story when I was working at the news station, it really got to me, and it stuck with me. So,
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad we got to do it, and I hope that a lot of our listeners are informed on something they may have not known about, or if they did know about, they got more information on.
exactly. And if I can figure out the whole linking and the show notes thing, I will try to link the video and some of the articles that I found while I was doing research for this if you want to know more because I mean it's a really sad time in history. Sad that that happened to Ruby and to the men. I mean, I feel like there was no justice served in this case, really.
No, just people being murdered. But if, like Nina said, if you're ever in the Martinsville, Virginia area, there is the historic marker that you can go visit. So
Check it
if we
out for
ever take
sure.
a road trip up there, maybe we'll take a picture with it or something and
Yeah.
post it.
So the names and ages of the Martinsville Seven are Francis DeSales Grayson, 37,
Frank Hairston Jr., 18.
Howard Harrison, 18,
James Luther Hairston, 20.
Joe Henry Hampton, 19,
Booker T. Milner, 19.
John Claiborne Taylor, 21, Howard and James Harrison were brothers, but they were not related to Frank.
Okay, because I was just about to say, like, were the three of them all related since they had the same last name?
Yeah, I know. I thought that too, but no, two of them were brothers, but they were not related to Frank Harrison. And so that means like one family lost two members of their
Uh,
family. That just like makes it even worse. And when we were reading their ages, only one guy was 37. The rest were like
too young, way
way
too
too
young.
young. Like not even some of them weren't even 20 yet.
Yeah, some were freshly adults.
Yeah.
If you consider 18 being like the legal adult age, but like
Yeah. I feel like people were more mature back then,
they
but
were for sure. People were having babies and getting married at like 12 and 13,
I know. I
14.
can't
It
even
was weird.
imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, oof, that's so sad though to lose two family members
Oh
at the
yeah.
same time. And they
Mm,
were so young, 18 and 20.
hmm. This has been like a really tough story to tell, and just as it's a tough episode.
It
Um,
is. And it's kind of like I know we started our podcast off with a bang with episode 1, but this one I feel like it's a great one to represent, Black
yeah,
History Month.
yeah, it's
But
Black History Month, and all of the men were executed in February. So this is why we really wanted to do it in February, and for our second episode. But it's a harder one to swallow. I definitely feel like it will next week's episode, the mood will be a little bit better.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
because next week's gonna be pretty fun.
Yeah. A week for
You guys
lovers.
better bring your candy and your what do they give? Oh, the little stuffed bears. Do
Yeah.
people still give those or is it just like flowers and candy?
Um, I don't know. Me and Drew have been together for like 13 years. And I think the first year we were together, he gave me a stuffed bear.
I mean,
Like,
yeah.
so I don't know if it's still a thing.
I cleaned out my closet and I found like 8 of those motherfuckers
Oh,
from like high school and shit. And I
you
was
have
like,
lots of sweethearts.
or do I? Find out
Oh,
next week.
yeah, stay tuned. All right.
Well, that was a crazy one.
Yeah. Episode 2, we did the damn thing.
We did it. We did the damn thing. We did the damn thing. We did it. I can't wait for episode 3. Woo!
Yes, so stay tuned.